In today's video, I'm bringing you the ultimate guide to managing meetings, meeting notes, and meeting agendas in Notion. This is going to help you get organized whether you're a Notion beginner or a Notion veteran. With this method, you'll never forget a Zoom link again, and you'll always have a reliable place where you can store your notes and plan for future meetings. There will be some chapters below this video in the description, and I recommend jumping around if you are a Notion pro already. But if you're a Notion beginner or you don't know the ins and outs of Notion, I recommend watching this video all the way through at least one time before moving down to the chapters. Then once you've watched this video all the way through at least once, you can come back and reference this video and jump around the different chapters. First, I'm going to show you how I manage my meetings inside of Notion. Then we'll dive into a step-by-step guide of building your meetings and tasks database and implementing that into a calendar view, and also building out a meeting template. I've just installed a fresh version of my template, the Productive Brain 3.1, and this is how I manage my meetings. It's as simple as hitting this task button right here, and then it's going to generate a new task for me. I can set the action date, which is the date that I'm going to work on this, and if it's a meeting, I have to set the exact date and time. So let's say that I have a meeting today, and I'm going to implement an end date and include a time. Let's say it is today at 1 p.m. and it ends at 2 p.m. Now, if I click away, you'll see that it pops up on my today's to-do list right here. I can also set a due date for this. So if this is something that needs to get done by a certain date, then I could enter a date here. Let's say the meeting got rescheduled or something like that, but I know that it needs to be done by the 21st. So I'll just enter the 21st here. This isn't going to affect how it shows up in my calendar or on my today view. Obviously, this is still pulling from the action date, but this will indicate if something is past due if I were to click on past due right here. If there's anything past due, this is where it shows up. I'm going to go back to my Today tab here, and this is where we get into meetings. So if I click on my focus right here, I can change the priority level of this task. Meeting is the highest priority, and I want meetings to show up above everything else if the time is the same. So if we have a priority 1 that has the same exact time as the meeting gets precedence. Now, the nice thing about the Productive Brain is I've included these little tooltips so you can hover over each of these properties and see what they're all about. Now that I have this set to meeting, I have an action date and a due date, I can go back over here, open it up, and let's just give it a name. Let's just say Meet with Jack. And then I can type in my meeting notes right here. Now, if I wanted to add something like a Zoom link, I could add a new property in here. I could just hit the plus, type in URL, hit URL, and I can call this Zoom link. And that way I can just paste the Zoom link in right here. And then if I open up my task, Meet with Jack, I can move this Zoom link all the way up to the top if I even wanted to. And I can just paste my Zoom link in right here. Now I'm going to close this, and I'm going to head over to my planning view. This is one of the most important views in this system. It allows you to see everything in a beautiful calendar right here. So it just says Meet with Jack and it says 1 p.m. If I click into this, I can now see my Zoom link, my meeting notes or my meeting agenda or whatever I want to type here is all ready to go. And the beauty of this is if this meeting got moved to the 20th, let's say, it's the 18th right now, but I could come in here and actually click on it and I could plan out my meeting agenda ahead of time. So I could just write ice break, review, last meetings, initiatives, plan for the future. And I can even turn these into checkboxes so that I can have this open on my second monitor when I'm going into that meeting. And I can check these off as we go throughout the meeting. Now, if you want to get the Productive Brain, you're in luck because I'm running a sale right now into the end of this year because I know some of you guys are driven and you want to get into your goals right now instead of waiting for the new year. So if one of your goals for the new year is to get more organized and actually be able to achieve your goals, that's what the Productive Brain is all about. Getting organized, getting your vision straight, and actually making moves towards that on a daily basis. So if that sounds good to you, use the link below this video in the description or the top pinned comment below. Now, as I said, this is how I personally do meetings in Notion, but I want to show you guys the fundamentals. I want to show you how to build a meeting calendar like the one that I have in Productive Brain. So what I'm going to do is hover over my sidebar here, and I'm going to hit Add Page. And now that we have this new page, I'm just going to call it Hub. And the reason I like creating a hub is so that I can have my other databases in the sidebar, and then I can just basically pull up any views that I want in a streamlined, aesthetically pleasing way. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to hit / and type in callout. This can be my menu. So I'm just going to type in menu of databases, because that's exactly what this is going to be. And I'm going to select the database icon. From here, I can just go ahead and add a page by hitting / in the open area here and typing out page, and then hitting enter. Now it's going to pull me to this page, this new page that I've created. And from here, I can just type in the name of it. So let's go ahead and name this page Meetings. Or if you want, you can name it Tasks. This way you can have meetings and tasks in the same view. And actually, let's do that. Let's name it Tasks, because I'm going to show you how to differentiate between the two, even if it's just a general tasks table. So then we're going to click Table and hit New Database. And now we can start filling out our database. Let's just create a column called Task. And this could be our meeting name or our task name, and they can coexist together. Now I'm going to click on this tags property that auto-populates when you create a tasks database, and I'm going to hit edit property. From here, I'm going to change the type to select, and I'm going to change the name of this property to type. Now this will differentiate between the different types of tasks. This is going to be similar to my focus tab in the Productive Brain. But in this one, I'm just going to type in meeting or reminder or task. Okay, these are going to be my 3 types of tasks. And I'm just going to make them all this light gray just because I prefer the simple aesthetic here. But you can change the color of them based on whatever you want. Just whatever works for you is fine. That's the beauty of Notion. Okay, we've got these 3 in here. I'm just going to get rid of this option here so that it's just empty. Now let's go ahead and hit the plus button right here and type out date. This is another type of property that we need to add for this to work, especially if we want it to work with a calendar. So let's go ahead with date, and this is going to be the date that it takes place. Now that this table view is created, we could start filling this out with our tasks, like work on the website, film a video, or meet with Sarah. These are all different types of tasks here, and I could just give these different types based on what they are. And I can also come through here and give them all a date. Not everything needs to have an end date and include a time, but if you're doing a meeting, oftentimes it does have an end date and it includes a time. So I enable these 2 things here, and I can enter the exact time that it starts at the top here. So let's say it starts at 2 p.m. and it ends at 4 p.m. and it's on the 21st. There we go. So if it makes sense to have a start time and an end date, you can do it that way if you want. Now let's add one more property, and it's going to be the checkbox property. The checkbox property will allow us to check something off if it's complete. I'm just going to rename this to complete. And I'm going to drag this all the way down so that all I see is this checkbox here. That way I can mark something as complete. It's important to note that you can also sort and filter what you're seeing inside of your database view. This isn't going to delete things out of your view. It's just going to hide them or change the order of them based on the settings that you set with sorting and filtering. One of the ways that I like to sort a database is by hitting sort and just sorting by the type. And if I make it ascending, then when I click into here and I change the order of these, it's going to prioritize whatever is on top. Okay, so meeting is what's going to be on top, then reminder, then task. You can also add a second sort priority. So if I hit add sort underneath type ascending, it's first going to look at the type ascending, and then it's going to look at the next property. So I'm going to hit date, and I'm actually going to make the date the highest property. Let's make the date ascending as well. Now, if this was in the future, let's say it was on the 21st, starting and ending on the 21st, it would be at the bottom of the calendar, even though I implemented that type ascending, because date ascending is on top and that comes first. But if I had two different tasks, just to show an example of this, I'm just going to click here and I'm going to hit Control C, Control V, and that will duplicate my task. Now, if I change one of these to task type, the task gets put below the meeting because that's the second order sorting that it does here. Now that I've shown that example, I'm just going to delete this task object here. Now, a filter that I like to add is a filter where we make the complete objects hidden. So I just say complete is unchecked. And when I do that, it's basically saying if complete is unchecked, then you show it in the database. If it's not, then it disappears. So the way that we can indicate if something is done is just by checking it now with this filter on, and it will remove it from this view that we're in, the table view. Now, the view inherits these sorting and filtering options. But if I wanted to create a new view, I could do so, and I can even create a calendar view. Now, the calendar view looks a bit different, right? But it's still the same tasks in here. It just doesn't have the same sorting and filtering, and now we're looking at it in the shape of a calendar. So let's go ahead and name this view calendar. I'm going to open pages in a side peek, and I can show my calendar as a month or a week. I'm going to stick with month. And where it says show calendar by, I'm going to make sure that it's showing it by the date that I want it to put the calendar together with. Now let's hit done. And for some reason, it moved us to June of 2024. So I'm going to click away from this and I'm going to go all the way back to December 2023. And here we are with our tasks. Now you may notice that right off the bat, this is pretty useful. I can click into these different objects and I can see them here. If I mark something as complete in this view, it's not going to change anything because, as I said, the filtering and sorting gets inherited from the view. So if we go back to table here, you'll notice that everything is hidden because now everything is checked here. But if I uncheck these, they're going to appear back on my table now because they aren't marked as complete anymore. So if I wanted that filtering, I could add it to my calendar view here. Now, let's say that we want to see our properties directly in the calendar so that I don't have to open these up and change these options. I'm just going to close this, hit these three dots, go to properties, and here I can choose what I want to see. So I can change the type to be visible so that I can see what kind of task it is, a task, a reminder, or a meeting. And I can also change the complete box so that I can see when something is marked complete. Now, as I said, you can add your filtering and sorting at this level as well, but that's totally up to you. One of the things that I really like about the calendar view is you can drag these things around, and it's just a lot easier to change the date here than manually clicking into something. If you want to get very granular with changing the date on an hourly basis, then what you can do is you can create another view, and that is the timeline view. We're going to show the timeline by date once again, and I'm going to hit done. Now, if I click away and click up here where it says month and change that to day or hours, I'm going to be able to see a much more granular view of this database and these times. So this is the best way for you to be able to see what time it is right now and where your tasks are in relation to that. If I click on these arrows, it drags me to said task, and I can adjust my task and its time very simply right in here. So if I want 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., then I can do that. If I want to drag it to 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then say, oh, I want to make it actually 10:30 a.m. that it goes to, it's the simplest way to get very granular and actually decide when something is going to take place. So there's all these different views that you can view your tasks and your meetings through the lens of. Now you might be thinking, what if I want to add like Zoom links? I want to add a meeting agenda and meeting notes, and I don't want to have to type all of this stuff out every single time. Notion's supposed to make you more productive, right? So how can we make the system a bit more efficient? The answer is adding a meeting template so that in one simple click, I can add a meeting to my calendar without having to change all the information that's redundant to a meeting every single time. So let's go back to our hub. And let's drag our tasks database into the menu of databases. I'm going to change the icon once again to a database. And here I'm going to type in /callout once again, click on it. And here I'm going to create a quick capture box. So I'm just going to call this capture, and I'm going to add a button to this quick capture box, /button, hit enter, and I'm going to call this new meeting. I can add an icon if I want. And for now, I'm just going to hit done, and I'm going to drag it into the capture box. Then I'm going to drag my capture box above the menu of databases. Now, this isn't going to add a new meeting by default. What I want to do first is create, once again, another call out so that I can get a view of my tasks database on the homepage. So we'll call this the calendar view. I'll just make that bold, and we'll select a calendar icon. And then I'll drag the calendar view to the side of capture here. If I'm getting this really tight screen, I can just click on these three dots up in the right-hand corner, and then I can change it to a full width screen. From here, if I hover between the blocks, I can just drag them and make them however wide I want. I'm going to drag this menu of databases underneath capture. Now at this point, our calendar is ready to be popped in right here, but how do we do that? Well, to do that, you just type in /linked view of database, hit that, and let's drag our linked view of database into here, hit select a data source, and we're going to select our tasks database that we just added here. Once I click on it, we'll see all of the views that we created back there. Let's just click on the calendar view. Now it's going to inherit everything from that calendar view that we created in our database view. So now I can just go ahead and hide this title, and we just have a beautiful calendar just like that. Now, when I click this new meeting button, what I want it to do is add a meeting to the calendar based on this new meeting button. So I'm going to hit the drop down right here, hit new template, and I need to create a meeting template. I'm just going to call the name new meeting so that whenever I create this meeting, it just says new meeting. And I'll change the type to meeting. And then down here, I'm going to add in the meeting agenda, and I'll go ahead and click on this, and I'll hit turn into H2 so that we have a bit bigger text here. I'm going to click on it and hit duplicate next, and I'll write meeting notes. I can even hit duplicate again, and I can type in meeting URL, and I can add in the URL here in the future, or I can hit add a property. I can type in URL, and I can name this property Zoom link. Now, right here, I'm just going to click into the meeting agenda, and I'm just going to add some bullet points. And this will just serve as a starting template for me. Here, I'll type in add new notes here. I prefer the method of just putting the link in here, so I'm actually just going to delete the meeting URL from the page, but either way works, however you want to set it up. Now this template is complete. I have the template still being edited, but if I click away, now when I click on this drop-down arrow, I'll see new meeting as an option. So now that we have this new meeting option available, I can go back to my button right here, click edit button, add page 2, select database. I can click on my tasks database, and where it says add page 2 tasks as, I can enter what type of task this is. And I'm going to select new meeting. Then I'm going to add another step of open page. Where it says select page, I'm going to click, and I'm going to click on new page added. This means that whenever I create a new meeting, it's going to pull up that new page that I just added when I click the button. And I want to open it in a side peek so that it shows up on the side of the screen here. I'm going to hit done. And now when I create a new meeting by clicking this button, it's going to generate that new meeting with the template that we created. So I can come in here and I can actually type in what everything is. Meet with Josh. And then I might write in our meeting agenda. So I might enter something like reminder, Josh likes dogs. Make sure to break the ice. Middle of meeting, get into figuring out Josh's pain points. provide Josh with our solution if he's a good fit. And finally, at the end of the meeting, I can write something in like close Josh if he's a good fit. And then down here, I can have my meeting notes all ready to go and prepared for whenever that meeting takes place. I can book the meeting by clicking on the empty date right here, hitting end time and include time. And then I can book the meeting and it will populate into the calendar. As you can see right now, it's going from the 18th to the 20th. That's why it spans across multiple days, but I'm going to change the start date to the 20th as well, so that it's just on that day. Then I'm going to add a time, 1 to 1:30 p.m. and I could enter in the Zoom link. And now if I click away, I'll see that meeting with Josh is available in my calendar. I can move this around whenever I want to, and this is the best way to keep track of all of your meetings in Notion. I hope you enjoyed that video. Now check out this video because this is a great parlay out of this meetings video. I'm sure that it's going to help you out.